Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise be due to Allah and Allah alone, for He is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Last session we came across just some of the narrations by Abu Huraira the Truthful. Not all of them, because obviously there are too many. Some say in excess of 5,000 up to 7,000 hadith this man has narrated. Now, we said that he was not only a liar but a thief, and also that he'd attributed many false sayings to the Prophet of Islam. And not only that, but also he was beaten by the so-called Caliph. I think, if I recall correctly, I said Caliph Umar, but it was actually Caliph Umar that beat him, Umar ibn Khattab, the second Caliph. Now, these are all found in their books. This isn't something that I'm sitting here making up just for us to be able to sit here and say, oh yes, we rightly condemn him and we say, you know, he's a liar and so on. These are things that their own great men of learning, people like Hanafi, people like Shafi, people like Ibn Athir, people like Muslim, people, you know, high scholars, Ibn Hajar, who is intolerant towards Shias, who has made up many slanders towards the Shias, calling them almost kafirs, calling them liars, calling them idol worshippers, many ridiculous statements by him. People like Ibn Taymiyyah, who also slanders the Shias, Ibn Hazm, Ibn Rabi', which in a future session, inshallah, God willing, we will come across their narrations and their hadith, what's written in their books about Shias. But we see that in these people's books, that we find they condemn Abu Huraira. They call him a liar, they call him a thief, and there are accounts of Umar ibn Khattab beating him. Inshallah, today we will cover just some of these narrations to be able to prove that it's not something we make up, but it's something in their own books. And if they were truthful with themselves, and if they wanted to know the truth, that they should look in their own books and realize it, and not just think that we're making it up just to cause, you know, some kind of argument, some kind of difference. We see that there is no difference here. We believe in exactly what they believe in, if only they read their books. Now, we see that Ibn Athir and also Ibn Abil Hadid in his Shahr Nahj al-Balagha, volume 3, page 104, which was printed in Egypt, and several others have reported that when Caliph Umar, Umar ibn Khattab, when he appointed Abu Huraira as the governor of Bahrain in 21 after Hijri, we see that Abu Huraira remained in power for 2 years. And in 23 after Hijri, he was called from Bahrain to the palace of Umar ibn Khattab for something of an interrogation. We'll see why. Why did he call him? He called him because he had had many letters from the people of Bahrain complaining about Abu Huraira, saying that this governor that you've put here is unfit to be a governor. He steals, he does this, he does that. And they complained about him so much over the 2 years that Umar ibn Khattab became sick and tired of these letters coming to him, and he said, send him to me. Now, upon seeing, in these books, we see that the hadith says that upon seeing Abu Huraira, he didn't even say hello or this or that, how are you, was your journey nice? The first thing he said to him was, oh enemy of Allah and enemy of his book. He then goes on to say, have you stolen Allah's property? And we see that the answer from Abu Huraira was, he said to Umar ibn Khattab, I never committed theft, but the people have given me gifts. As in, his answer was, these were gifts from the people. Now, Ibn Sa'd in Tabaqat, volume 4, page 90, and Ibn Hajar also in his Asaba, Ibn Hajar was one of the people that I mentioned was very intolerant towards Shias, yet we find this in his book. Now Ibn Hajar quotes that the Caliph then said, "When I made you the governor of Bahrain, you never even had shoes on your feet. Yet now I have heard that you have purchased horses for 1,600 dinars. 1,600 dinars isn't pocket money. It's not, £20, £30, £100. It's the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of pounds." Now, he then goes on to say, how did you acquire this wealth? And again, in these reports, just like in Ibn Athir's report and the other reporters, we see that Abu Huraira, all he said in reply was that these were men's gifts which Prophet has multiplied much. Now, the Caliph grew so red in the face, Umar became so red in the face with anger towards Abu Huraira that he lashed him so violently that Abu Huraira's back began to bleed. Then Umar ibn Khattab ordered the 10,000 dinars which had been taken from the treasury to be taken off Abu Huraira and placed back into the treasury. As in, Abu Huraira not only stole money and bought 1,600 dinars worth of horses, which to me is very ridiculous, because how many horses can you ride? How many horses do you need? It shows that this man was just only thinking of worldly matters. He only wanted to, acquire this wealth, keep it for himself, and all in the space of 2 years. And we see something which strikes me is that the Prophet was in power for 23 odd years. Abu Bakr was in power for 2 years. Umar ibn Khattab was in power for several years. I don't know exactly how many years, but it was more than 2. And we see that no one gave these people such gifts. We don't hear anywhere of people giving the Caliphs or the Prophet of Islam such gifts. If anyone deserved 1,600 dinars worth of horses and 10,000 dinars worth of money, it would surely have been either the Prophet himself or the Caliphs or something, so-called Caliphs. Yet we see that none of these get them, but a governor, just the governor of a city, of a country, or Bahrain, gets all these gifts. How wealthy and how kind must the people of Bahrain have been to be giving him all these gifts. Now, this isn't the first time we come across Umar ibn Khattab beating Abu Huraira. Muslim in his Sahih, which we know that this is one of the books that they almost worship, Sahih Muslim. We find they quote millions of times from this book, Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. We see that in his book, volume 1, page 34, that during the time of the Holy Prophet, Umar ibn Khattab beat Abu Huraira so severely that the latter fell to the ground. As in, he was beaten so badly that he couldn't stand on his feet. He just fell to the ground. Now, Ibn Abil Hadid, in his Shahr Nahj al-Balagha, volume 1, page 360, he writes that his teacher, Abu Ja'far Asqalani, his teacher says, according to our great men of knowledge, listen to this, according to our great men of knowledge, he's not saying according to the Shia great men of knowledge, he's saying according to our great men of knowledge, Abu Huraira was a wicked fellow. He then goes on to say the hadith narrated by him are not acceptable. Omar beat him with a lash and told him that he had changed hadith and attributed them, the false sayings, to the Holy Prophet. He then forbade him to narrate hadith from the Prophet, and he said to him, because you narrate in such large numbers from the Prophet, you are only fit for attributing lies to him. As in, he knew this guy was coming out with hadith left, right and centre, one after the other, whipping them out like it's nothing. We see that Imam Ali alayhi salam lived his whole life with the Prophet and only had 700 hadith, according to some reports. Yet, this person, Abu Huraira, lived 3 years with the Prophet and had 7,000 hadith. So everyone knew. Omar doesn't lack a brain. He understands that this is obviously, for him to be coming out with such hadith so frequently, they're lies. They're nothing but lies.